Welcome to episode 144 of Timm Talk, the podcast about the DC animated universe co-created by Bruce Timm. I am Chris Lord.
I'm Cameron Dexter.
I'm a little hungover today.
That's fine. I got the energy today. As always.
The problem
I'm
is
carrying this podcast on my back.
Well, I am the villain.
Yeah.
Which means I always have to undercut us in whatever way I possibly can.
That's true.
The problem is that I just have like the low energy of being hungover, but not the super sexy gravelly voice that I occasionally get from it. Mm-hmm. So this is really benefiting nobody.
That's fine.
Whatsoever.
We're going to power through.
But yeah, we're back with some more Static Shock this week. We're finally watching the episode that you watched and I didn't, not the episode that I watched and you didn't.
That is correct.
But plus another one, good old Sunspot. But first, a little bit of news.
What do you have today, Chris?
Well, I mean, pulling off of that's not the right phrase. Moving off
Pulling
of,
out? Is that the phrase you want?
That's definitely not the phrase I was looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Coming off of the news from last week.
Sure.
Let's go with that. But we got the official look at the Batman's bat suit.
We did
last week. This week we're now getting our first set photos and set videos coming out of there. So it's
Can you please silence all phones, if you don't mind?
It's actually probably someone messaging us on Instagram for this very podcast. It is in fact that exact thing. So we will get to that later.
Can you please silence all phones and electronic devices?
It's on silent now. Wait, actually, let me. Okay, get my laptop on silent too. But yeah, so we start getting some set photos and set videos. So this looks like Robert Pattinson's stunt double.
Yes.
Riding the new Bat Cycle.
Also, great chin.
Solid chin. I mean,
Solid
even
chin.
when you're pretending to be R-Pats, you got to have that chin there.
Yeah.
It's good chin. It's good chin. But it's riding.
Some might say the Crimson Chin.
I mean, it's on par with the Crimson Chin.
Almost.
Yeah.
It's near Jay Leno.
But I mean, nothing really comes close to Jay Leno.
That's true. He is the villain. He is the chin villain. He's too strong with his chin.
Someone I realized recently has also great chin. Shawn Mendes. I've never really given him much thought at all as like a human being. But
The director?
No, that's Sam Mendes.
Oh, the singer.
Yes,
Got
exactly.
it.
Mean, someone showed me a photo of him this week, and yeah, he's got good chin.
Yeah.
Really good chin. Should we have an episode where we just rank chins?
Let's do it.
I mean, there was that great IO9 Gizmodo article that came out this week about ranking the Batman lips.
Amazing. That's good.
We'll have to do our own segment on just the bat chins.
I'm trying to think of what were the other chin puns from the Crimson. There was Cincinnati.
Of course,
where he's
yeah.
from. Mm-hmm. Clef the Boy Chin Wonder was Timmy's name,
which is fantastic.
Which is like the older I get, the more I appreciate that name.
Yeah.
He had a dog.
He did?
He did. It's not coming to me anymore. It's been a while.
All right, I'll let you ponder that for a little bit.
Set photos. That's what we're talking about.
Set photos. So they're filming out in Glasgow, Scotland, which is actually pretty cool. I've been there. Mm-hmm. It's very kind of industrial and gothic. I think it'll be a cool aesthetic they're going for in terms of their version of Gotham. Mm-hmm. And they're actually filming near the Necropolis, which is like a big church/cemetery out there. So I've been there.
Nice.
Which is pretty cool. I'm like, oh, this all looks really familiar. Bat Cycle looks cool. We got a nice bat sort of hood thing going on the front of it. I'm gonna be honest though, I'm not really loving the rest of this.
You're not feeling it, yeah.
I'm not feeling the rest of this bat suit. It looks like a proto bat suit.
I mean, that is a possibility. This is a new Batman.
I know, which I don't really want them to do again. I mean, this is me being a nitpicky fan once again.
You don't want an origin story?
I mean, no, I don't want an origin story, which I'm hoping they mostly avoid. And I've talked about before that there are a lot of things about this movie I'm excited about, but I'm not super excited for yet another young Batman. It's we haven't really had a good version of the older Batman with the whole history and the family and stuff. But I don't necessarily love the look of it. It looks even more quote unquote practical than the Dark Knight suit, mm-hmm. which I thought worked fine for what it was, but I was never the biggest fan of. The emblem was cool, obviously. It's armored, which I like, but it's got these really ugly looking gauntlets on there. Hugely ugly looking, and it's got so many belts and straps. I mean, it's competing with Rob Liefeld of the 90s in terms of how many belts and straps are on this thing.
Final Fantasy levels.
Yeah, exactly. They watch a lot of Final Fantasy. They read a lot of cable comics.
It's a game. It's not a series, it's a game.
They watched
played.
watched the cutscenes from the game. God damn it. You know I don't know anything about Final Fantasy.
I know. That's why I threw it out there.
I've never watched a single one in my entire life. Also, to be
Well,
fair,
there's 15.
there is a Final Fantasy movie. I know that.
There are two, actually.
Well, see, there
Final
you go.
Fantasy Advent Children.
Further proving that I don't know a goddamn thing about Final Fantasy.
Beautiful movie.
But that's the CGI one, right?
Yeah.
It did
With
look
beautiful
gorgeous.
hair.
Great hair. Have you watched it recently? How did the effects hold up on that?
I think they hold up pretty well. I mean, the movie was made in 2007, and like seeing the other movies that came out around that time, this is beautiful.
But not as beautiful as Speed Racer, obviously.
Not as beautiful. I mean, nothing compares to Speed Racer. The physics of Advent Children is one of my favorite things because they don't exist.
There's just no physics in that universe.
Yeah. There's a scene where there's like a giant monster coming in, and there's like eight of the good guys, and they're trying to get Cloud up to his head. And so Cloud is like jumping up the skyscraper, and then the building ends, and he's only halfway up the monster. And so then his friends all jump up, and he jumps into their hands, and they throw him up while they're midair.
That doesn't work.
It does, though.
But no.
It's called Super Mario logic.
Okay. You know what? I do love me some Super Mario logic. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not super digging this suit. As Ashley Clark pointed out, it looks like an insect a little bit because it's got goggles on it.
I think, and I will stand by this until we get other set photos. And this is also kind of plays into my point from last week, or not point, my question from last week of why do we have promo shots coming out for these movies? And it's because of this exact thing where we have one set photo get leaked and the entire fandom turns against the film. Chris.
It looks dumb. I'm sorry, it looks dumb. Like, look, the emblem looks cool. Like, the torso looks good. But the gauntlets look terrible. The shoulder pads are huge. The head looks weirdly like bulky and bubbly, and I'm just.
I think this might be like a Bat Cycle specific suit. Because it looks like a motorcycle jacket.
See, I think that's maybe part of the aesthetic they're going for. Is I feel like they're doing what Nolan did a little bit of trying to come up with like an in-universe justification for the suit, which I'm like, do we really need that? Can it just be he's a comic book character? Like, we had 4 Batman films and an entire animated series in universe where we didn't have to justify having a costume. Marvel at this point doesn't try and justify why they have the costumes. They just do.
Well, Marvel is smart because they half justify. Of like, oh, it's new Kevlar. And we go, okay.
Did they ever do that?
Yeah, with Cap's outfit in Winter Soldier. They talk about how his new, because that was like the big thing of like him going back to his old suit was it didn't have the same protection that his updated suit had.
Yeah.
When he was fighting Bucky.
But it's like okay, so we're going to go on a Marvel tangent here as we often do. Obviously, they justify the existence of the Iron Man suit, but that's like integral to the plot and character. Like, he's creating something that's never been created before, so there has to be an explanation for it. Thor just looks like Thor.
Yep.
And then Cap,
He's just a god.
he's just a very sexy god. And then with Cap, they do that initial step by putting him in like the costume, like the USO showcase costume, and then they do that amazing thing where he's like, then he militarizes it, putting the jacket on, the helmet, like that works super well. And then they're like, okay, now we're gonna create our own version. But like, even that's like the one real explanation. From that point on, like, everyone just has a costume. There's really no explanation for it.
Yeah.
And like, oh, because we can just do that now, and you don't need to justify it, except for DC, which either refuses to put them in a costume still, or feels like they need to justify it somehow.
Well, it's the realism argument again. But DC is so adamant on just being Nolan forever.
Yeah, and that's my one concern about maybe this movie a little bit. It's like, oh, you're just Nolanifying it once again. And like, this is where I'll give, oh my God, I can't believe who I've become.
Suicide Squad?
No, this is where I'm going to give Zack Snyder a little bit of credit.
Okay.
Oh, holy shit, I've become one of those horrible release the Snyder cut
Release the
fanboys.
cut.
Oh, no.
What was the movie we watched last week where we found out there were 2 cuts?
3,000 Miles to Graceland.
3,000 Miles. For people who haven't ever heard of or seen this movie, I was just introduced to this last week. It's a god awful film.
I have fun with it.
It's who is
It's Kurt Russell,
mm-hmm.
Kevin Costner, and Courtney Cox
are Elvis impersonators and potentially children of Elvis.
Yeah.
Who rob a casino in Vegas and then try and get away with the money. We found out those two hated each other so much on set and disliked the edit that both lead actors made their own cut of the movie and shared it with test screeners, in which everyone had the more positive feedback got shown, globally.
Yeah.
And we can assume from watching the movie that the Russell cut is the one that came out. So if you guys want to start a second petition alongside release the Snyder cut, you can ask to
release the Costner cut.
Release the Costner cut of this horrible movie.
That must have been extra insulting to Kevin Costner, who is like an actually well-regarded filmmaker in his own right. And as far as I know, Kurt Russell's never directed anything before.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's just
really, that was
really twisted the knife.
It was a bad weekend.
I have fun with it. It was a bad weekend just because the one movie was a bad weekend.
You.
I didn't make you watch that movie. I didn't even choose it.
Yeah, Shane picked it.
I suggested it. Mm-hmm. I stand behind it. Guys, go watch 3,000 Miles to Graceland. So
you were saying
it's
you're supporting
insane.
Snyder in every decision he's ever made.
Yes, every decision ever made. But I will at least give him, I don't think it's his fault. Oh, God, who have I fucking become? I don't think it's his fault entirely that the tone of Man of Steel is off. I mean, one, he doesn't understand Superman as a character. We talked about that a lot. However, I think that was still Warner Brothers' decision, just trying to make it The Dark Knight, but for Superman, which was a mistake. And I will at least give him credit that his Batman costume is probably one of the best ever. The one from BVS. Mm-hmm. I think both the armored suit and the normal bat suit are probably some of the best ever, because it looked both functional but also very, very comic booky, and I will give him credit for at least doing
I think
that.
because he was smart to base it off of the Dark Knight Returns suit.
Yeah.
Which was already kind of modified to help him kind of level himself against Superman.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, you're talking about the actual armored suit.
Yeah.
The mech suit.
Well, I mean, but also he has his normal suit.
Yeah. But that's a good suit. I'm like, just do that, maybe.
Yeah. And I feel like DC has kind of wavered on this line. I think Batman is kind of their stance. Because Wonder Woman got to be more practical.
Yeah, that Wonder Woman costume.
Not practical.
Looks great. And the new one's a little more colorful.
Not realism.
Formalism. We did it. Finally.
Shazam was the same way. Shazam got to be more fun.
And they finally put Aquaman in his comic costume. It looked great.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Yeah. Also, there's no cape on this. That was one of the things. Are we going to get a CG cape? Get this bullshit CG cape?
We might.
Bullshit.
We might.
I hate it. I'm on your team now.
Did you?
That's why I think this is a specific motorcycle one. Because there is no cape.
It might be, but I mean the reason I think it isn't.
Or it's a he pressed a button and the cape sucks up into the top of his suit. Yeah. It's like a clothes hanger, not a clothes hanger, one of those things.
A curtain?
Yeah, it's like a curtain.
It's not even a curtain, they're blinds. Shit.
We'll get there.
So, I mean, I would love it if
he has a left side, which is up, and then a right side.
He's got a pull string, and he's standing there trying to pull it at the right angle to make it release. Fuck no.
Alfred!
More to the right. More to the right. But, okay, my thinking as to why it's not a motorcycle specific suit is it has the emblem on it that is theoretically or theorized to be made from the gun that killed his parents. And I feel like you wouldn't have multiple suits then if that were the case.
There are a lot of guns. We learned it wasn't one, it was multiple people that shot his parents this time.
How can we do the same thing over and over again, but make it more extreme?
You know what it is? It's multiverse.
He's just gone through.
He's gone through the multiverse.
Taken the gun from every multiverse version.
Yep.
I love if the movie were really, really grounded and realistic, except for that one detail.
Yeah.
It's where'd all these guns from? Oh, I'm just hopping to the multiverse. The what? Doesn't matter. Let's just keep going.
Well, so here's the tie-in. Every Gotham has one villain. And most of those villains have one. And so now they're going after the Batman,
Okay.
which is our Pat's Batman, our Bat's Bat Pats.
Wait, so are you saying that we're gonna get like the Jack Nicholson Joker in there too? Like,
No. Just the villains that are already in this movie.
oh, each of them come from a different universe.
Yes.
A
Yes,
different
you have the
multiverse.
Riddler who beat his Joker, the Riddler that beat his Batman.
Oh, okay.
The Penguin that beat his Batman. What are the villains we have? Catwoman.
Carmine Falcone.
Yeah, so Falcone I think will be the base
Okay.
here. And then all the other villains are going to come from multiverse.
They'll just show up Terminator style.
Exactly.
I'm so here for it. All right, I'm
Naked.
back on board. I mean, the Penguin's played by Colin Farrell, so
Yeah.
I'm on board with this. The only time I've ever want to see the Penguin naked. It's good old Colin Farrell.
Not Danny DeVito? Did you see the picture of baby Danny DeVito that came out a few, like 2 or 3 weeks ago?
No.
It's in the midst of the Baby Yoda hype and the factions of Baby Yoda versus Baby Groot armies.
What? Who is legitimately trying to make a case for Baby Groot over Baby Yoda?
A lot of people, surprisingly.
Wrong. They're so wrong.
My favorite tweet has been, I will cut up Baby Groot and set him on fire just to keep Baby Yoda warm.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. But no, in the midst of all that, someone released a baby photo of Danny DeVito, and it is precious.
Baby Danny.
Yeah.
Baby DeVito.
Because he looks the exact same.
I bet he does. He's still balding, just has like the tufts going off on the side.
Yeah.
It's adorable. Love Danny DeVito. But I don't know.
Well, we've made it through one news segment.
One news thing. I mean, it's just so much to talk about on these 3 photos of a bat suit from a movie that we're not going to see for another year and a half. But you want to talk a little bit about Harley Quinn.
I do. So we talked last week that Harley Quinn is not doing great in theaters. And I wanted to kind of put an addendum to that it is not doing great comparatively to the other DC films. For Warner Brothers, it's still doing pretty well.
Okay.
So comparing it to the last R film from February that Warner Brothers
Nothing's going to come close to the Joker.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying in the bubble that we're in.
Okay.
In the bubble of
any
February.
Warner Brothers for film.
Yes, the last one that came out was Kingsman a couple years ago.
That's not Warner Brothers.
Well, the last one they compared it to was Kingsman.
Okay, I was going to say, that's...
Is that Legendary? Sony?
I think Universal or Lionsgate, maybe. I don't remember. No, it's Fox. I'm saying it's Fox.
Okay, yeah, that's right. It's Fox. So Kingsman was the last R-rated, I mean, not counting Deadpool, R-rated superhero film that's in the same kind of budget range as this movie was.
The first Kingsman or Kingsman 2?
The first Kingsman.
Okay.
First Kingsman made almost the exact same amount of money opening weekend, about $33 million. And Birds of Prey is still keeping up with the Kingsman numbers.
Oh, okay.
But that being said...
That was also 2014.
That was 2014. And also, they don't have China at all. China has closed all their movie theaters since January,
because of the virus. Yeah.
Because of the virus. So we're not including one of the biggest film markets.
Oh, so it's actually
universe.
actually further showing that it's doing well, because despite not having that incredibly large territory,
it's still
doing okay.
Yeah, it has broken even at this point.
Okay.
So we were talking about it doing horribly. It is not doing great, but it is also not like horrible.
No, I mean, I think it's part of the thing too is that these ideas like, oh, it's underperforming. It's like, well, that just means that the estimations that came through like weren't accurate, because no one really knows how these things are going to do.
Right.
At the end of the day, like I don't know how that's all tallied, but it doesn't actually work in a way that really effectively communicates how it's supposed to work.
Yeah, so I think there is still potential for this to have a sequel at least.
Okay.
I think that is still an option.
I certainly hope it does. Like, I want it to have a sequel. I want more movies like this. Also, apropos of this conversation, Ashley Clark sent me something on Instagram. I sent us on Instagram. And it was a tweet of an article. So the article is most of the negative reviews for Birds of Prey are from men. And the tweet was, a movie made by a woman, produced by a woman, starring women is getting negative reviews from men, and water is wet.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, fuck, I'm one of those people.
Look at you, you man.
What have I become? I've become the DC fan.
You're a DC incel
that's
over
like
here.
just oh my god, I have become a DC incel. Like I'm the guy who's like over here like saying how Zack Snyder's underappreciated and how he didn't appreciate Birds of Prey.
That's right.
Cameron,
You know what would make
I'm the
Birds of Prey better?
problem.
If it was directed by Zack Snyder.
God, no, it wouldn't. Oh, I'm the problem. Should I just abdicate? Should I just walk away at this point?
Yeah, I can finish up here.
Okay, yeah, you got this.
You can find us at Timm Talk Pod on Facebook, Instagram, Gmail, and did I forget Twitter?
Yeah.
You don't need Twitter.
You don't need Twitter. No, I mean, I hope they make more stuff like this.
I agree.
I really do.
I have Speed Racer 2.
We're never going to get Speed Racer 2. That's long gone at this point. I had one other quick little thing I want to talk about. So the New York Toy Fair is going on right now.
Oh.
So we've been getting some cool reveals. They are doing some great Baby Yoda merchandise finally. It's getting put out there, including like a little animatronic one. It's only like $60, surprisingly.
I think I don't want to say they've missed the bubble, but they're definitely not at peak Baby Yoda anymore.
Well, no, yeah. I mean, they've definitely
Like
missed...
this needed to be coming out pre-Christmas.
Yeah, I mean, they've missed the holidays, which is when they really had this stuff coming out.
Or even fucking pre-Valentine's Day. Like, could you imagine getting a Baby Yoda with your like bouquet of roses?
Yeah.
That would have been adorable.
I would have been so here for it. But one of the cool things that's also come out, so the company NECA, NECA,
Sure.
NECA.
Yep.
They're doing 1-to-1 scale DC props. So amongst the photos that Jeb sent me here, they have like some kryptonite in a canister. They have Nightwing's Eskrima sticks from Arkham. They have the Batarang and Batman, or the zipline gun from the first Batman movie. They're looking pretty sweet here. But the coolest things they have is they have...
Wait, does that mean we can be the other kid from Shazam who just keeps a Batarang in his desk at all times?
We can absolutely be those people.
Oh, thank God.
The fact that we don't have Batarangs is really quite surprising.
Yeah.
Do you not have a Batarang?
I don't.
I don't have a Batarang either.
That's surprising.
What are we doing with our lives?
Not wasting enough money.
Clearly. But here's where we've been wasting money on. Animated series Bat Grapple.
Hell yeah.
The animated series Harley Quinn, like pop gun.
Beautiful.
With the
That's
revolver
actually really
with like
pretty.
the plug in the front of it.
Yeah.
Mr. Freeze's goggles and gun.
That
And
comes like
then
normal goggles.
the best one of them all. The Batman Beyond Batarang.
Ooh, that's a pretty one.
It's looking real damn
Do
fine.
you have a price point on that?
No, not yet, but I'll be buying at least one. So,
I'm gonna guess around like a 120 range.
Yeah,
seems
probably.
like a good Batarang price.
yeah, I know. Just too much for you to justify throwing it at people.
Yeah, I know.
All right. Any other news, or shall we get on to what we're here to talk about? Static
I don't know.
Shock.
I don't think we can talk about it, so you can cut this out if you want. Did we talk about the Batman comics already?
Oh, didn't Dan DiDio get fired?
Oh, I meant that they're continuing animated series. Paul Dini is making new Batman.
Yes, we
animated series
forgot to talk
comics.
about that entirely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why couldn't we talk about that?
No, I just because I don't have anything else to say about it.
Oh no,
besides,
but
like,
yeah,
cool.
yeah. They're doing a continuation of the DCAU in comic form again.
That's right. Written by Paul Dini.
Yeah, super excited for that. We forgot to talk about that last week, didn't we?
Yeah. Great.
It was all that Batsuit talk.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, the thing I was talking about is that Dan DiDio, who I know is a writer or one of the head creatives over at DC, he got fired.
Okay.
But I don't know anything about that.
Neither do I.
So that's probably what we should cut out. But this one I'm not going to, because we've mentioned it far too many
It's
times.
too integrated.
Yeah. We've just slipped the phrase Dan DiDio, who I'm probably pronouncing it wrong anyways, through various points in the podcast.
Yes.
So now it's impossible for me to cut it out.
That's fine. I mean, I can make it sound like you're cutting around me, and then we.
Oh,
But yeah, so that was a really good point that you made too.
so fluid.
Yeah.
So perfect. All right, should we talk Static Shock?
Let's do it.
All right, so we're talking Frozen Out, a new addition to the holiday episodes of the DCAU, and a pretty damn good one.
One of the best ones.
I would say. Yeah.
Top 3, I would think.
I mean, there's like 5.
Yeah.
So,
I stand by it.
okay. But no, I mean, this one's good because Static basically goes up against Elsa.
Yeah, a homeless Elsa.
Homeless Elsa. Yeah. So Elsa who doesn't live in a castle
And doesn't sing.
or doesn't sing. Well, we don't know that she doesn't sing.
Well, in this episode, we don't hear her sing.
Yeah, but maybe she has an amazing singing voice.
Yeah, maybe we'll see her next time sing.
She's never come back again,
No,
is she?
she's
No,
not.
it's absolutely not. No follow through on that. But yeah, so it's a character who goes by the name of Permafrost.
Yeah, great name.
It is a good
That's
name.
a great villain name.
I mean, yeah, so it's essentially just she's basically Killer Frost in essence,
But homeless.
but homeless.
You keep forgetting the main part about her.
No, I recognize the main part about her is the fact she's homeless. That's the best part of this episode. It's like, it's one of their lesson of the week episodes.
Right.
But the nice thing about Static Shock is when they do that, they actually do a really good job with it, as they do here.
I agree.
Oh, okay.
So we and this is also one where we've mentioned a couple times now in the holiday episode, and then last week or 2 weeks ago. This is also nice because it's like it's a weirdly religious episode at the same time. They kind of go through every religion.
Yeah, I mean, it opens up with him at Frida's house.
Yep.
Character
Celebrating
we all
Hanukkah.
thought was
Replaced by
completely
Daisy.
written out, but there she shows up once again, surprisingly. But yeah, we're at her house for a Hanukkah celebration with her family, and Virgil makes a comment about another person who's doing a Ramadan event. Another person,
Daisy is doing a Kwanzaa party. Omar
Yeah.
is doing a Ramadan feast.
and then of course there's actually Christmas going on there too. And yeah, it really doesn't address it isn't really a holiday focus. Like there's no Santa Claus in there at all.
That's a big point because this is the only Christmas special that doesn't show Santa.
Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, just given that where the episode starts at this party, the vast majority of the episode or the whatever religious celebration dominates it the most would be in fact Hanukkah. Is there, I'm trying to remember if there's was there a Hanukkah episode anywhere else in the DCAU? I don't think so.
Not that I can think of.
No.
They always like squeeze it in most shows.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, almost always is like the butt of a joke.
Yeah, usually.
Yeah.
But I mean, here they do a really nice job with it, and the episode even ends with like a multi-denominational event at the church, and it's just nice how they focus on that side of things a little bit. And for it being very religious, it didn't feel
Bombarding.
Yeah, it wasn't. And this, I realize how reductive this sounds, but it didn't feel in your face religious.
Yeah.
It's just kind of more all about the idea of helping other people where you possibly can, and that at one point in the world that had ties to religious beliefs.
Right.
Maybe less so now.
A little bit. So they're at Frida's place for Hanukkah, and there's a citywide blackout that happens. Virgil goes to check it out and realizes that the electric factory
Damn you.
had been completely frozen
God
over.
damn you.
What would that be called? Like not
The power plant.
The power plant.
You
The electric
jackass.
factory had been completely frozen over.
But he doesn't know it's permafrost. He just goes there and he uses all of his energy to melt the ice.
Because that makes sense.
Just makes perfect sense. And then all of a sudden,
A new Bang Baby shows up.
he doesn't even know where this is coming from because all of a sudden just icicles start falling from the sky. I thought that was a pretty well done effect, actually.
The animation of this episode is great.
It is really good.
I think this might be the best of the season so far.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, no, it looks really fantastic. And then he has to go and recharge himself off of like a power station there to get his juice back. He doesn't know what's going on, but he just sees this young homeless girl asking for any sort of help he can possibly offer, and he dismisses it really quick to keep going because he assumes there's still a Bang Baby out there somewhere.
Right.
But little does he know, that's the Bang Baby. Elsa.
Homeless Elsa, who doesn't sing yet.
Yeah, just that we know of. Yeah, and so, it's him then trying to figure out who's causing all these snowstorms, and then he's at the mall with Daisy, and
Frida 2.0.
Frida 2.0. Permafrost shows up again and has a traumatic moment because she sees this mom trying to protect her kid, and she has flashbacks to when her stepdad, I guess, just looked real ominous, and somehow it killed the mom? Like she was already sick.
Yeah, the mom was already sick. They left the dad left them, and then just kind of being poor on her own, the mom dies.
Yeah.
Which leaves Permafrost on her
Maureen.
own. Yes.
Yeah, Maureen on her own. And so there's this whole thing about this glass guardian angel statue that she carries with her outside when her mom gets taken away in the ambulance, and when the social services come to.
I think it was the tree topper.
I guess it is.
That's what I assumed it was.
Yeah, but it's glass.
Yes.
So okay, Cameron.
Mm-hmm.
Who puts a glass angel on top of a Christmas tree?
People who really believe that Jesus will keep it up there.
Like
People that don't have cats, people that don't have dogs, for sure.
small children, frail old people in their house.
It's
people who like to walk around barefoot.
It's clearly a fake tree because that thing's not going to catch on fire.
Yeah,
a lot of faith.
I think it's meant to be a glass like statue that you put out like on a counter somewhere more. I mean, because it looks like it should be a tree topper. Because that's what most of them are, is just either a star or just some angel. But yeah, so she tries to run away from the social services and the statue shatters. And so that becomes like a motif over the course of the episode. We keep seeing guardian angels, which obviously is a metaphor for the fact that Static is the guardian angel.
That's right.
But it's done a pretty decent job.
I'll save it for the end, but I have a way I think we should have rewritten this episode.
Okay.
And not made it a 2-parter.
Shocking.
A 3-parter.
So, there we go. Now it makes more sense. Like
you get one holiday per episode.
I think in the entirety of the DCAU there have been 2 3-parter episodes, right?
Superman intro and
3. Yeah, the premiere of Superman, and then is the episode called The Savage Time? But it's when most of the Justice League goes back to World War II.
That's 3 parts.
I'm pretty sure it's a 3-parter, isn't it?
I think all Justice Leagues are 2 parts.
Starcrossed was 3 though.
Which one's Starcrossed?
The finale of Justice League when the Thanagarians invade that sets up Justice League Unlimited.
Right.
I'm pretty damn sure that
Savage Time
was also. Well,
we'll see when we get there.
I'm pretty sure Savage Time was the finale of season 1.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds right. I would stake some money on that.
How much money?
All of my money, which is not much. You know this.
I do.
So, but yeah. What were we talking about? Permafrost,
yes.
Marine. Oh yeah, the angel that's always popping up in places. But no, so Static realizes that it's this girl, that she's homeless. He tries to track her down. He ends up at like a homeless encampment in an old trolley depot, and he gets a chance to see her room, as it were, which it's interesting because she actually has like her own space a little bit. Like there's a bed in there. It's like a normal bedroom, but I guess it's all made out of ice, isn't it? Like she created
that was my guess. Was like no one else can just go in there because she recreated her room as a kid, a younger kid, because she's still a kid.
That makes more sense. I thought she had all those things in there, and then
she just froze over them.
Froze over them like that. No, in hindsight, that doesn't make any sense.
Right.
It's a depot where everyone is sleeping under like cardboard and bags and stuff like that. There's no way that she would have the room.
Mattress. Yeah,
like an actual like 4-post bed and stuff. Doesn't make any sense. But Virgil sees what's going on, and he has this really fantastic conversation with like a local reverend, who I'm pretty sure was also voiced by Phil Lamar.
That sounds right.
Yeah. Oh, my bad. No. I had that wrong. It's Michael Dorn. I'm looking at the cast list right now. The great Michael Dorn, a.k.a. Worf from Star Trek The Next Generation.
Oh.
And a fantastic voice actor in his own right. He also is the voice of Calabac in Superman.
Good to know.
Yeah.
I like Calabac.
Yeah, Calabac's great. Were you also about ready to make an Ain't No Calabac Girl joke?
No.
Okay.
Do you want to make that joke?
Nope.
Want to rewind this and give you a chance to make that joke?
Nope, we're just keep on moving.
Do you mean like ain't no Calabac girl?
Ain't no callback to a Calabac?
Yep. A Calabac callback?
I hate us.
No,
Sometimes
you should. You should hate you.
I really should.
Yeah. So then Reverend gives the kind of the lesson of the episode of, she's not a faceless category. The homeless, she's still a person.
Yeah.
You still need to treat her with respect, which we've seen him do. We've seen him not do so far. We've seen that moment where he does, like you said, just brush her off at the beginning, and then confronts her as a villain, and now has to see her as a person.
As a person again, yeah. And they do a nice job about pointing out that it's a real problem, and that a lot of folks who are homeless have mental issues that are either kind of like caused by the sort of isolation and loneliness that comes with being homeless, or maybe they had them before, but again, they are still people, and that a lot of them are also really young too. And it's for various reasons they run away, or they lose their parents, or any number of things, or they don't have a home to go back to.
Right.
And I thought they did a really nice job kind of acknowledging the reality of that situation and portraying it in a really empathetic way.
I agree.
Thank you, Cameron.
This, well, be honest, this is a hard episode to make fun of.
No, it is.
One, it's a great episode, but also it's like
it's an actual...
we live in LA where homeless are rampant.
I mean, yeah, in LA in particular, it's getting really bad. San Francisco's also really bad too. I mean, it's a genuine problem that there aren't real obvious easy solutions to. And the thing is that this episode was almost 20 years old now at this point.
Yeah,
and talking about it, and it's really only gotten worse since then.
There was there's a tweet that's been going around over the past few months, which I love. It's like, y'all realize Wall-E came out 10 years ago and you're still littering? What the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah, it's really sad and true. Oh, we still didn't get it.
We didn't get it. And then Segway made the fucking scooters.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I mean, we're heading towards those. We're heading to those hover chairs. Absolutely.
So then the episode kind of comes to its climax at the tree lighting ceremony. Permafrost shows up, and Static kind of bonds with her through talking about the loss of a parent. You know, like, she's not alone. There are people that have dealt with this and know how to help her with it.
Yeah. No, it's a really impactful moment when she says, how could you possibly know how I feel? It's like, I know exactly how you feel. I lost my mom too. And you're just like, fuck. Like they went there. They knew how to play that card really, really well and really have the emotional impact land in that moment. And it works. Like, it makes her just like stop and realize like, oh yeah, this is another person who like sees me as like a real human being.
Yeah. It's
a really touching moment. They do a really nice job with it.
Cue, what was who's the old singer? Not old singer. Leona Lewis, was that her name? She had that one very popular song from 2011, Bleeding Hearts.
I have no idea.
Hearts.
I have no idea where you're going with this.
She did the theme song. Going nowhere with this. She did the theme song for Avatar called ICU. And that's where I was going with it. It's just like the Leona Lewis song, He Saw Her.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow, Cameron.
We got there.
Nope. Now this is my opportunity to hit you a little bit.
Oh, please do. I did appreciate for the world to know how good of a friend you are. On my birthday this week, you did. I've told this story many a time of when I went to Disney World hoping to find someone I could speak Navian with. And on my birthday, Chris warmed his chilled heart to send me happy birthday in Navian.
Yep.
And I appreciated it very much.
Wait, the language is Navian, not Navi?
You say it either way.
Oh, okay.
I always said Navian, but now it's pretty much just written as Navi.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, I just I had to look it up.
Yep.
Also, I felt like a schmuck because I saw you the day before and we didn't celebrate your birthday.
No, I didn't tell anyone. I don't like to celebrate my birthday.
It is now in my phone. It was already in my phone, but I have reminders set to remind me days beforehand.
Okay.
Because I almost missed your birthday, almost missed CJ's birthday, which are like days apart. Doesn't matter to anyone but us. But yes, I did have to wish you a happy birthday in Navi.
Yes, and I appreciate it. Just had to share how good of a friend you are on air.
Yep. Most of the time I'm not. But no, I mean, it's a really sweet episode. It's a very empathetic episode. One of the moments I really liked, actually, was after Static leaves the church, he's had that conversation with the Reverend, and he doesn't know what to do. He's like trying to figure out, how do I save this person who is, a danger, but who really just needs help, and he doesn't know how to do it. And he gets out of the church and he looks up. He's like, "Do you ever have a day like this?" Like, "Oh yeah, of course." And he flies off. And I think that is maybe one of the most kind of obvious religious beats from one of the heroes at any point in the series. Which we get a few holiday episodes here and there, but the DCAU really doesn't dive a lot into religion. Mm-hmm. Like, I'd say the closest it gets is probably in some ways Wonder Woman, just like her own beliefs, like Hera give me strength sort of thing. Which, is she just referring to her mom?
It's unclear.
Yeah, it's a little bit unclear now that I stop and think about it. But like, religion isn't a huge part of this, and I liked that this episode actually went down that path. And I'm a pretty widely publicized, acknowledged like a non-religious person, and I don't do well with religion in general. Mm-hmm. And I thought this episode handled it in a really positive, constructive,
especially with
way.
that last scene, they left it open enough where like people who are religious can see that and be like, "Oh, he's talking to Jesus."
Yeah.
People who aren't religious might be able to construe that and be like, "Oh, he's talking to his mom."
I didn't even think about that. That's a good point. Yeah.
Of like, since not ending that sentence with someone's name, kind of leaves it open to anyone can perceive him talking to really anyone.
Yeah. That moment, and then a comment the Reverend makes about it's all about having faith. Like, that's really what the episode is about. It's more about like faith and spirituality than it is like a particular religion in general.
Yeah.
But no, it's really good. I quite liked it.
So I one way I would like them to rewrite this episode is to seep in the flashbacks a little more discreetly.
Yes, they're a little clunky
because we kind of had the bulk of a flashback and then back to normal, and then the bulk of the second half of that flashback and then back to normal. Not normal, back to present. And I think we could have started the episode hearing the ambulance go off, and then not knowing what it connects to, and then we see her, and we see her seeing the mom and the daughter, Permafrost seeing the mom and daughter, and then we hear the ambulance go off again, and so we realize that's what's triggering her and her powers.
Interesting.
And then we have another moment where we have like Virgil kind of coming through in the silhouette, where she has the other flashback where she sees her dad. And then we get the dad and the mom situation. We realize the dad was abusive and the mom was sick. And then we have the last flashback. I know that's 4 beats, but it's only technically 3 beats.
Along those lines though, do you think this episode actually needs those flashbacks? Like, when Static goes to meet up with, I just keep saying the Reverend, he has an actual name. Reverend Anderson.
That's what it is, thank you.
When he goes to meet up with Reverend Anderson, the Reverend gives a little bit of that backstory of like, oh yeah, her name's Maureen. Like, she and her mom, or she used to come in all the time, and then like about a year ago she disappeared, which Virgil points out is around the time of the Big Bang, and she's been gone ever since then. Like, is that enough? Do you feel like, or do you need that flashback moment to like make us fully understand where she's coming from?
No, we need the flashback because we need to know about her mom, because that's what connects Virgil and her.
You're right.
The dead parent.
But I mean, what if when the Reverend's talking, he says like, oh yeah, like, she and her, she used to come here after her mom died. He even, I think, says like her mom passed away. 'Cause he has to tell Virgil that, otherwise he wouldn't know to say that at the end.
Yeah, but I like the flashbacks. I feel like, especially getting it from her perspective, is important.
No, I mean, I thought it was interesting
because then we care about the kid. Because then she's not just a tragic villain.
It's true. She actually has like a real human story.
We want to fight for her, so we have to see. We can't just hear that she's her, because then it's just Mr. Freeze. Yeah,
that's absolutely true. And you raise a good point about it being from her perspective. Like, one of the things I really liked is in the flashback, you never see the stepdad's face. It's always in shadow. And then there's a photo that she's clearly torn out his face from it. So it's really just about her and her mom.
Yeah.
It's nice. Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Do we want to move on to our second episode here?
I had one more note on this, and this is the second time to continue to hammer in our point that Daisy is Frida 2.0. We get our second reference to Lois Lane.
Oh, that's right.
Where he is joking about it with Daisy. The first time we hear the Lois Lane reference is in connection to Frida.
Oh, that's right. She really is just a replacement for Frida.
She is. Poor Frida.
Does Frida come back again at any point, really?
She's kind of there. I have vague memories of like the 4 of them hanging out, starting when Gear becomes more of a character.
Oh, Gear.
Mm-hmm. Can't wait.
Can't wait for you. I actually have a
That was my character. Like that was who I looked up to. As a
I can
kid.
totally understand. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he's the nerdy one.
Exactly.
Like, I mean, Virgil's nerdy, but Virgil's also cool.
Mm-hmm.
And like Richie is definitive, like a lot nerdier and goofier and a little more like out there.
Yeah.
And also his power set, I think, is a bit more interesting. Where it's like
Being smart.
It's just being super, super smart. Just being wicked smart.
Wicked smart.
But actually, no, I have a comment about gear in relation to our next episode. Actually.
Okay.
So. Yes, and then we have Sunspots.
Yes.
Going from very opposite ends of the spectrum here, from an episode all about it being cold and wintry and snowy to an episode about the impact of sunspots. This is one of my favorite tropes of all time in like superhero sci-fi stuff. You see it regularly. It's like, oh, the sunspots. I think there wasn't even a Superman episode about this too, where like the sunspots were like playing.
Yeah, like he loses his powers, I think.
Yeah, was it? And maybe Smallville did this at one point too. This is
I think it was Smallville. I don't think it was Superman animated. I think it was Smallville.
Yeah,
because this is also Spider-Man 2.
What?
Spider-Man 2.
Oh, he loses his powers.
Yeah,
yeah, but I mean that means.
But there's no explanation for it. He just loses them.
But also, well, he doesn't believe in himself.
Sorry, excuse me, I forgot. His powers are built on his belief system.
Look, I will always maintain that Spider-Man 2 actually is one of probably the best superhero movies.
I mean, Doc Ock is so good.
Yeah, one of the best superhero movies of all time. But for me, like how I always describe Spider-Man 2 in one sick moment, it's just Peter Parker jerking off his wrist going, work, damn you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the thing is also, if this is Spider-Man 2, it actually means it's Superman 2, because Superman 2 did this first. The Superman the movie.
There's a second Superman movie?
Yeah, there is.
How many are there?
4.
4?
Did you not know this? I can't tell when you're doing a bit or not. Yeah, there's 4 Superman movies, a Supergirl movie.
Yes.
And then Superman Returns, and then Man of Steel.
Yep.
But less said about that, the better. But, I mean, so the Superman 1 and 2 are the Simpsons of the superhero universe. Like, they did it first. Like, Superman the movie does like the classic superhero origin story, the love interest story, and then Superman 2 is all about choosing to be a normal person rather than being a hero. And that's basically like every superhero sequel since then. I mean, there's even an element of that in The Dark Knight. Like he wants to give up being Batman just so he can be with Rachel.
Yeah.
The most boring human being in the world.
Hey now.
She is.
She's pretty.
Yeah, but she's also just like, she's pretty milquetoast.
Yeah.
Like, she's no Selena Kyle.
That's true. Is she a lamp? She's kind of a lamp, isn't she?
Oh, you could just...
But a lamp that catches fire and explodes.
Well done. Well done. She's an old-fashioned lamp.
Yeah.
I mean, she's kind
So a lantern.
She's kind of a lamp. I mean, I'm trying to think.
Female character that's only there to motivate the hero?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, at least in Batman Begins, she represents...
She's a lamp that can write a letter. We'll say it that way.
She can write a letter. At least in Batman Begins, she represents like the actual legal side of things. Like she is, she's part of Batman's plan. It's like, okay, he exposes the villains, Gordon arrests them, and then Rachel will prosecute because she's the one who's brave enough to do it. So she actually has a role to play, even though she still ends up becoming a damsel in distress. She becomes a damsel in distress twice.
Yeah.
Now that I stop and think about it.
Yep.
We'll get to these at some point.
Need to get some pointers from Megara. My girl.
what?
Megara? Meg? From Hercules.
Oh.
I'm a damsel. I'm in distress. Don't need your help.
Yeah. Oh, good old Meg.
Yeah.
Love her. So, yeah, in this episode, there are sunspots which are affecting anything electromagnetic, apparently, including statics. Now he gets, like, overcharged, and he has to find a way to, like, burn off this energy. Is this whole episode about teenage hormones, horniness, and masturbation?
Yes.
Okay.
Always.
Like, I wasn't thinking that initially, but then there's that moment where...
When his dick stopped working?
Where his dip...
Yep. Take 2?
His dip stopped working. No, there's that moment where Mr. Hawkins makes a comment about how Virgil's too young to go on a date with Daisy. And it's like, it doesn't play out in any other real element of the story other than he's trying to spend time with her. But their relationship has always been like flirtatious, platonic kind
Yeah.
of. And I think it still plays here of him like having.
I did love Shannon's comeback to the dad though.
Oh, you've always been old. You've been old.
Yeah,
since
even
I've
old
known
since I could always remember. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's great. I would have gotten slapped.
Oh, you absolutely would have. But this episode, like the fact they included it in there made me go like, oh, that's what this is about. Like you think about it, he all of a sudden like can't control himself. And so he has like a really embarrassing moment getting woken up by his sister in bed. He has another really embarrassing moment in a classroom later. If this isn't a metaphor for like awkward boners, I don't know what is.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting because I wasn't looking at it from that perspective.
It maybe also because I've been watching Sex Education.
Yeah.
It's a great show.
Great show.
So that's like on my mind is awkward boners.
No, because coming from that perspective, yes, I do see that being the theme of the episode.
He's got all this like pent up energy. He has to go let it out.
Yep.
He has to go release it. He's just flying out to the harbor.
Because is that your new metaphor?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Sorry guys, I'm running late. Had to fly out to the harbor real quick.
Yeah. Ew. Did you wash your hands?
No.
Great. Yeah. Because I was coming from the perspective where I don't think we needed that first half of him being overcharged. I think we should have stuck to just the trope and the sunspot making him lose his powers.
Yeah.
And then, as we just mentioned before, the trope where he gets back on, because we see him like heal his relationship with Daisy. I would have loved to see a scene where he heals his relationship with Pops, with Mr. Hawkins and his sister.
Yeah.
And like he's doing better in home. He's helping out the community center. Like it's such a brief moment where he doesn't have his powers.
Yeah.
They kind of limit it to just the last like 5 minutes. Because we also don't see a villain. I wrote the time code down in here. We don't see Hot Streak until 10 minutes and 36 seconds into the episode.
Yeah. And you can tell they just used him because they needed to just drop in a villain we already knew.
Yeah. And he's the one that makes the most sense because he does go to their high school.
That's true. Well, he used to, and he comes back again.
Yeah.
Somehow. No, I would agree with you. I thought that the him losing his power stuff was way more interesting than him being overcharged.
Yeah.
Like,
because they kind of like, after his second time doing it, they had nowhere to go with it.
no, because like the same stuff keeps happening to him. Like he wakes up in the morning and like the static electricity has drawn everything in his room towards him. Mm-hmm. It's not how that works.
But I agree. But it's a callback to the first episode when he first got his powers.
But did that happen?
Yeah. He had like his chair and everything started moving closer to him. He had the paper clips. He'd pick up the hair dryer and it would turn on without being plugged in.
That's right. His first thought was it was a ghost.
Yeah.
Or it was possessed. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, there's like I would agree with that. I would rather have them done like maybe one brief beat with the sunspot, giving like overcharging his powers, and then had it very quickly gone to like, oh, then he's out.
He like immediately burns out.
Yeah, exactly. And he goes to let it off, and he's like, oh, like did I like let off too much power? Like
So
is it the sunspots? What happened here?
I think the turning point should have been you keep that first action shot, and then as he brings the car down with the guy inside, do you know who that voice actor was? Because that was a bad voice.
I thought it was Phil Lamar again.
Was it? Oh, he wasn't trying.
Static, Virgil Hawkins, Mr. McGill.
It would have been Driver.
Oh no, it's this person, Lawrence Hilton Jacobs, who I don't know what else they've done. They don't have a link here, so.
I did not like the voice.
Oh, okay. I didn't really notice it, to be honest.
I think when the guy's like, oh yeah, can you take me to this area? Take me to a different part of town.
Oh yeah, the traffic here is scared of being flown through the sky.
Yeah, great joke. But I think Static could have tried to do something. Was like start his car.
Yeah.
Do something like that. And he kind of
out.
snaps his fingers. Yeah. And that's when he's out.
Yeah.
And then he has I have to walk home now. And so then it leads into him coming home and you can still have that same conversation about Daisy.
Yeah.
And Pops, him having to make an excuse to Pop. It's like, look, I don't think it's going to happen any for a while. Like I'm here. And then you can spend the next beat with him and his dad and him and Shannon. And then Sharon, sorry. And then you go into him and Daisy in the next scene, him doing well on that test.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then, the Hot Streak comes in. You see him not over bullying, but still kind of like bumping shoulders with people. And Virgil still trying to stand into that. And then him having to like pull back. have 2 beats of him pulling back before he realizes that he is now powerless.
I would have liked that structure a little bit more. I think it would have been more interesting to actually dwell on what that's like for Virgil, because he does have a lot of other stuff in his life, like more so than certainly Batman or even Superman,
or even Terry. Terry didn't do anything.
Yeah, I mean, like we had a couple of those moments, like I've stopped being. I guess with that brief moment in Return of the Joker when he's like, like I'm taking a break from this stuff. I'm actually gonna be home more often. I'm gonna go spend time with Dana.
Yeah,
and then
give us that moment.
Yeah, but like Virgil has
much like an episode of Danny Phantom.
I mean, they're doing ever.
Butch, listen to me, Butch. You can't get away with this anymore. We're calling you out.
We could actually do a spin-off podcast where we just watch the sister episodes of Static Shock and anything Butch Hartman.
Bitching about Butch.
Ooh, I like this. I'm here for it.
Bitch and Butch. No, we need...
you know me. All I want to do is create more podcasts.
Yeah, I know.
Oh shit. Yeah, it's like this was an episode of Danny Phantom, right? Didn't he lose his powers at one point?
No, he goes through the ghost dream catcher, which separates him from his ghost form. So he has a human form and a ghost form.
Because we talked about this once before.
Probably on the
when there was 2 statics.
Yeah.
I think that's when I know we've talked about the Dreamcatcher thing before.
No, I think during the Return of the Joker, maybe. Whatever. We've talked about it before.
Yeah.
Where his human side, because that one is different, because there is still a hero. Where in this, you now have a city, you now have Dakota City without a static. And so that causes problems.
Yeah.
So you could even have that perspective. You could even bring in another Bang Baby. It doesn't have to just be Hot Streak attacking school. But I think it should stay local. I do like it staying just local.
And I like his solution. Like initially it's just run away. We can't defeat him. And then it's, I have to do something. I'm the only one that can, because I'm the only Static's the only person that's actually put Hot Streak in his place.
Right.
So, and I love that they went and got the Zap Caps. I like they brought that back around again. I thought that was kind of a fun little nod. And then that was pretty clever how they use it to try to intimidate him. And then once it stops, it actually comes with a real plan. And the real plan was kind of silly, go up onto the roof and then suck energy out of a big fan and somehow zap a hole in a water tank to take him out. You could see where it was going, but it was kind of clever enough.
I feel like I don't like that solution, because I feel like what Richie said was the right point of, we don't know how much your body can conduct anymore.
Yeah.
And so I think what they should have done differently is they still have that water tower, have Static dodge the shots until Hot Streak hits the beam, and then you have the classic Looney Tunes moment where the water tower tips and then lands on him.
And then Hot Streak races off the roof, and then he looks down and finally realizes that he's off the building and then falls.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would have been great.
Pulls a sign up.
Help me. Whoops,
yeah.
And down he goes. I mean, I agree with you. I think that would be more interesting to see Virgil have to defeat someone without his powers at all. But I can also see why they had to do it this way, because you had to set up that he could get his powers back, so that in the end it makes sense that he has them once again.
Oh, here's the final punch of it. You have Hot Streak lose his power. You have Hot Streak kind of fizz out with the water. He's still standing, and Virgil's like, uh-oh. Or Static is, uh-oh. And then Hot Streak starts walking over to him. He's like, I don't need my powers to beat you. And then we know he still has that little spark.
Oh,
the water is more conductive than he is. Then he shocks the water.
And zaps him?
And that knocks him out.
I was going to say he zaps the fan, and then it turns on and blows Hot Streak off the side of the building.
That was my first thought of what they were going to do. No, but I think using the water tank alongside the power that he does have would have been a more fun and creative route for them to use.
Yeah, that could have been a little more interesting. I also thought it was odd that this episode has a really downer ending. He has this moment where he's super excited.
Daisy, yeah.
He's so excited to have his powers back. And he's like, look, as fun as it was to have a normal life again, I missed being able to help people, and I missed being able to go and enjoy myself with these powers. And I was like, oh shit, I was supposed to meet up with Daisy. And then he gets there just too late. She's already walked away, and he basically slinks off Charlie Brown style, all sad.
Again, I think they could have rewritten that a little better.
Yeah.
I think what they should have done is when he's in the air, when he's kind of doing his tricks and talking to Richie, you have a moment where he's like, you know, it really showed me that like static is important, but it's also important to just like be me.
Yeah.
And so he's like, oh, Daisy. And then he bolts off to Daisy, and Daisy's about to get up with the books. And we cut to Static, like, to Virgil, like, walking over with coffees. And be like, hey, sorry, I'm running late. I had to go get coffee. And then they sit down, and then they, you know,
Aw,
they have their moment.
sweet little moment.
Yeah. So then,
Yeah.
then it's growth. Because then you see him
that's a good
learning
point.
from the event.
Yeah, he actually takes something away from it rather than just falling right back to where he was beforehand. Well, would have been nice to have just a slightly different thing.
Yeah.
One other little moment that I really loved is the beginning when the really boring science teacher is doing his lecture. That is, in fact, someone doing a really fantastic... It's actually Phil Lamar doing a really fantastic Ben Stein impression.
Who's Ben Stein?
Jesus Christ, Cameron. Have you ever seen Ferris Bueller's Day Off?
Oh, that teacher, yeah.
Yeah. So like the most famous, like boring teacher, like that's the trope specifically they're playing off of.
Yeah.
But then Ben Stein would pop up in a few of the other places here and there. He had a game show on Comedy Central way back in the day called Win Ben Stein's Money, where his co-host, so his like Andy Richter, was in fact Jimmy Kimmel.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, like Jimmy Kimmel
So
started...
this is like Man Show days or pre-Man Show days?
Like so I think the Man Show happened first.
Okay.
And then Jimmy Kimmel was also the sidekick on Win Ben Stein's Money. Because like basically it was a trivia game show, and then by the very end of it, whoever was like the last contestant standing would have to go toe to toe with Ben Stein in trivia questions. And so like at that point, Jimmy Kimmel would take over as like the quote unquote like host kind of.
That's funny.
So yeah, that was like him way back in the day. Also, I ran into Ben Stein once.
Did you?
I was PAing. We were filming at a hotel on Sunset Boulevard, and I walked over to the Rainbow Room, like a famous old LA haunt, to pick up lunch. And as I'm waiting for the food to come up, Ben Stein walks up to me. He looks at me and goes, Diet Coke's a hell of a thing. Sets down like a Coke cup and turns out and walks out the door. I was like, what the fuck just happened?
Amazing.
I'm like, Ben Stein, what are you doing at
Do you think after a certain level of fame and after a certain time frame, you're more interested in just like making weird stories for people?
Oh, yeah. I feel like that's what Bill Murray does at this point.
Oh, yeah. Bill Murray is the most prolific of it.
Yeah.
But even like my encounter with John Stamos, where he walked up to different pockets of people, would tell the same joke and then just leave and go to another pocket to tell the same joke.
Yeah. When did this happen?
When I was at a Disney event.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
Him and his wife are both huge Disney fanatics.
Disney people.
She's huge in the Disney style community as well.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
So she was there for Disney style to be interviewed, and he showed up. She was dressed as Red Jasmine. So when
oh, okay, yeah,
she's under Jafar. The baby was dressed as Aladdin, and John Stamos came in dressed as Genie.
So good.
And he came in. He's like, I think that's a former child of yours making your kid dress up like that, and then just leave. And I heard him say that 3 times.
You know what's great is when John Stamos makes a dad joke, it works because 1, he's an actual dad making a dad joke.
Yeah.
But 2, he's just so damn attractive. You're like, oh, you can just say anything and I don't care.
Yeah, just keep talking. I'll be here.
Oh, God, Stamos. Mm-hmm. Sexy, sexy Stamos.
Yeah, so now that we've shown off our LA clout.
I mean, I would much rather have an interaction with John Stamos than with Ben Stein.
Yeah.
To be perfectly honest. But that was a fun little moment. I don't know. Anything else on this episode?
I think that's pretty much it.
All right. So we don't have any like major things in terms of notes from friends. I was chatting with Ashley Clark a little bit about the bat suit. And we were really hoping that it was going to have the old comic book style ears. She actually sent me this really fantastic Instagram post of someone photoshopping the original huge ears onto to Robert Pattinson. But kind of in lieu of a proper question from a listener, you had a question that you actually wanted us to dive into here.
I did, and I'm trying to remember what movie trailer prompted this question. But it is
Was it the Tenet trailer?
No, it wasn't Tenet. It was probably It was probably the Fast 9 trailer, even though
probably.
It has neither of these.
But
my question was, what is a bigger cop-out for screenwriting, time travel, or introducing a multiverse?
So...
Or you can be like Marvel and have both.
Okay, I think
And I want to add
cop out in what sort of context?
I was just about to say that. Cop out as in it's not the first movie they're introducing it in. It's down the line. They're kind of using it as a mechanism to further a muddled plot or to fix a muddled plot.
Okay. I'm trying to think of franchises or shows that introduced time travel down the line and weren't built around the concept of time travel.
Because you have Flash. Flash has both. But time
True.
travel is more integrated than multiverse is now more integrated than time travel. But when the show started, it was kind of like time travel was the component of season 1.
Yeah.
Where like that was necessary to make sense of the mom being shot.
Yeah. Okay, so two major examples that come to mind are the MCU.
Yep.
And Harry Potter.
Okay. Yeah, because it's your two forms of time travel.
Well, I meant more just like two examples of universes that introduce time travel down the line and didn't introduce it right at the beginning and set it up as a critical crux of the premise.
Correct.
They're not movies about time travel or multiverses. Because actually, there haven't been that many movies about the multiverse. The only one that comes to mind is The One with Jet Li.
Yeah. I guess because now I'm kind of muddling up the difference between multiverse and like multi-timeline, kind of your Looper / Back to the Future 2.
Yeah.
But that would still be in basic terms, I would still be construed under timeline or time travel and not.
Or the 2009 Star Trek reboot doing the same thing. It's a splintered timeline. I think it's time travel is a bigger cop-out than the multiverse because it's been done more often.
Multiverse is newer.
And multiverse, I think people were inherently like assumed it was more complicated, so they don't use it quite as often. Because I mean, again, there was The One, but then now we got it into the Spider-Verse, obviously, which did a really fantastic job with it. We now get it in the Arrowverse, but like the idea of there being an actual multiverse is still kind of limited in its pop culture saturation, whereas like time travel is a trope within of itself. Mm-hmm. But I think time travel is a bigger cop out. I think it's been used as a cop out more often, and I think Endgame is amazing as being this incredible like finale to this long running arc, and it's amazing storytelling and character work, and it's a movie that should not work and does. But that is a thing. It's like if you introduce this universe breaking concept like time travel, you then have to kind of write around why you never able to do it again. Mm-hmm. And I think that does create problems down the line. I mean, they even had to explain that in Harry Potter.
I was going to bring that up with the play.
Yeah. The play. But even before then, I want to say in the 5th or 6th book, they make a comment about how all the time turners were destroyed during the Ministry fight.
Right.
And then I know that comes back into the plot in the play, which is all about time travel.
Yeah, where you find out that one wasn't destroyed.
And it's so dumb.
It is. But it's still so well done.
I mean, I know it's gorgeous. I might go try and see it at some point this year, actually.
You should. Let me know, because I might.
But want to come again? Yeah. I think that is more of a cop-out. I think it's also utilized more as a cop-out because time travel exists enough in the zeitgeist that it can be introduced without having to do a lot of explanation. Mm-hmm. People understand what time travel is. You can just throw it in there like, oh, time travel solved this problem.
Right.
Versus the multiverse, which I think requires more explanation. And I feel like time travel is used to fix things in a way the multiverse isn't yet.
Right. So part 2 of the question, because I had this talk with a friend the other day. Mm-hmm. Which would you rather see incorporated first into the Fast universe? You have to pick one. Do you want a racing multiverse?
I would actually like to see them use time travel.
That was our answer.
Because
your reason.
I would love state your reason. I would love to see them do what Endgame did so well of having the characters revisit points of past films, but have it done in the most ham-fisted, clunky way possible because it's the Fast and the Furious movies.
Mm-hmm. We said time travel because we want to see Dom race his kid. We want his kid to come back in time.
Oh my God. Yes. You have found it.
Yeah.
You have found the thing they could do that would be even more ridiculous to have them go into space, which is to have Dom's kid from the future show up.
Yeah.
And given that somehow John Cena is his long lost brother, who is the world's like deadliest fast car driving mercenary, that does not seem that implausible.
Right?
Yeah.
We also had the thought of, since this is a Fast and Furious movie, and this is now the second appearance of Charlize Theron, that there is like a 70% chance that she will join the team by the end of the movie.
Oh, it's absolutely true.
Yeah.
Like, as Helen O'Hara of the Empire Podcast.
The what?
The Empire Podcast?
What is that? Where can we find that? Isn't that a magazine? How's there a podcast about it? I know the Empire magazine.
It's they just literally read the magazine out every week.
Great.
Every month they put out an episode and they just like
is it
it's
online or is it like just like at a street corner? Someone's just there reading a magazine.
They mail out CDs that you put into a CD-ROM or into like a boom box, and you listen to a person who's British, so it sounds amazing.
Great.
Just read the magazine. It's long, like it takes up like the full disc.
Okay.
Sometimes if they have a bonus episode, they have to send out 2 discs.
Oh.
Get that full soundtrack.
That must be a nice treat, though.
Oh, it is. You're like, oh my God, I have so much time to kill.
Open your mail, see your Nickelodeon magazine, your Empire magazine. There happens to be 2 discs that fall out.
2 discs, like, oh my God, I know what I'm doing for the next 3 days.
Yeah. A 3rd disc pops out, which is an AOL free subscription.
Oh yeah, but I mean, you just can't escape those at this point.
I know.
How much land mass do you think in the world is occupied by discarded AOL Time Warner free trial discs?
I bet if you stacked them up, because discs are thin, they would be 6 stories tall.
I think that's a. I
think I'm lowballing it.
I'm thinking like you're competing with like the Empire State Building or something like that.
Okay. I mean, that's 60 feet. Is 6 stories.
Yeah. It's a lot of discs, man.
That's a lot of discs.
It's a lot of discs.
There was, to tangent off your tangent, I listened to How Did This Get Made this week, where they watched Space Jam.
Oh, how is that?
So good.
Yeah.
Because they did it in Chicago, so obviously making fun of Chicago fans at the same time.
Yes.
But at the end, Paul opens up a question to June and Jason Mantzoukas of how much money do you think WB has made off of Space Jam merch alone?
Oh shit.
And the answer they had was from 2009.
Okay.
So we can imagine it's gone up since then.
What was the number for 2009?
For 2009, what's your guess? The movie would have been out for 14 years at that point.
30 million?
$1.2 billion in merch.
Holy shit.
And they said now in a international market, they think Space Jam merch has made $4 billion in merch.
Oh my God. So, in other words, Space Jam merchandise has the same value as all of Lucasfilm or Marvel.
Exactly.
At the time they were purchased by Disney.
Exactly.
Holy shit.
And then the movie itself made $232 million in box office.
Yeah. But I mean, that movie has lived on as like a cult classic for
Yeah.
such a long time. Still getting a new one.
It was so funny listening to their perspective as 3 people that had never seen the movie before that day.
Oh, they'd never seen it?
No.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
And so they hated it.
I was going to say, like, it's not particularly good, is it?
How dare you? It's a masterpiece.
I mean, it's not, though, isn't it?
No.
It's like Hocus Pocus. You watch and you're like, oh, I get why this has a cult classic appeal, but it's not particularly good. To be fair, most of Rocky Horror is that way, too.
Don't go there.
Like, Rocky Horror really dips out not too long after, like, the big numbers.
Well, I was gonna say, yeah, after touch me.
Yeah, so after the time warp, after touch me,
Well,
after
because then
I'll make you a man.
yeah, that's pre touch me.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, it's time warp, make a man, touch me, and then Meatloaf And then there's
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of 45 minutes of nothing.
If nothing.
And then it's Transylvania.
No, wait, Sweet Transvestite?
No, that's the opening. That's the beginning.
Yeah, it's great. Oh, but yeah, then the finale when they're all like frozen and get unfrozen.
Yes.
That part's really good. Mm-hmm. That's a good song, but a lot of the middle of that stuff. I do remember watching that movie when I was 13 at a friend's birthday, and I remember being like weirdly intrigued by the scene where Brad
I'm going
thinks
home. That's
he's
what I'm
being
thinking.
okay. Yeah, when Brad thinks he's being seduced by
His wife.
Susan Sarandon, and
Yeah.
then it turns out that it's Frankenfurter. I remember being like, "Huh, something's
just-
going on here.
Something just click inside me.
Something's falling into place. I don't know what this is yet."
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but winding it way back to where we started with all
Sorry,
these
yes.
tangents, as Helen O'Hara loves saying in the Empire podcast, you either like die a villain or live long enough to see yourself become the hero. Like quite the opposite of the phrase from The Dark Knight, which is like all villains eventually become heroes if you give them enough screen time.
That's right.
Like it happens with Darth Vader, essentially, although his like an actual proper redemptive arcs kind of make sense. But it happens with like fucking like Freddy Krueger and Jason. It happened with the goddamn Predator, with Alien versus Predator. Like eventually these characters have enough screen time that they end up becoming heroes in their own right.
Well, because you will introduce a more evil thing,
Yeah, exactly.
and so then it becomes the enemy, and my enemy is my friend.
Yeah, essentially. And so I think you're right. That's what's going to happen. It's like by the end of this, they're going to, because I mean, that fucking happened to Jason Statham.
Yeah, it's happened to every other character.
Yeah, actually, pretty much, except for Rick Yoon's character in the very first Fast and the Furious movie, the guy who was accused of stealing the DVDs but didn't. He drove for the Honda S2000.
Okay.
I don't know if he directly shot or if his like team, who's one of his gang guys, shot Jesse, but he doesn't ever come back in a sort of redemptive way.
Okay.
But even Vince does, right? Because like he's just kind of like an antagonistic force in the original one. Is it Vince?
I honestly don't remember anything prior to
The guy who was in love
Tokyo
with the
Drift.
sister in the very first movie, who like
It's not part of Tokyo Drift, so I don't
he
remember.
gets his arm all fucked up in the DVD chase at the end. And then I feel like eventually he like betrays the team, but then he like comes back and he's like welcome back into the fold. Like every villain in even The Rock, right, is like he's an antagonistic force and eventually he becomes a good guy again. Like every villain eventually becomes a hero. So yeah, so now okay, along another tangent here. Who do you think is gonna surpass Charlize Theron as like the big bad? Like, is she going to turn good over the course of this next movie?
Well, I think we're gonna learn that Charlize Theron is doing what she's doing to get at. I think I mentioned this before. At the company that made Idris Elba.
Oh,
Everlast, Everclear,
Evermore,
Evermore,
Evershine.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be the overarching villain. Will be the company.
Okay.
So we're gonna find out. We're gonna see who the head of the company is at the end of this movie.
Yeah.
And that will be the main antagonist for 10, which I think will be the finale.
Oh, but I've now heard that Vin Diesel's made a comment apparently about how 10 is going to be in 2 parts.
Even better. You know what makes everything better? 2 parts.
2 parts. Oh. Do you think that the cliffhanger at the end of 10 part 1 is going to be them literally hanging over a cliff?
Absolutely. Or on the moon, a moon cliff.
A moon cliff? Mm-hmm. I mean,
a time-traveled moon cliff.
So I don't know. I think that... Oh, someone's having fun out there. I think the term cliffhanger, I think, originated from like the old movie serials, right? Where like it would oftentimes literally end with a character hanging off of a cliff.
Yeah.
But I think one of the greatest examples ever used in a movie, though, is the end of the original Italian Job. So the one from the 60s with Michael Caine.
Okay.
Because I guess it's technically a spoiler kind of for a 60-year-old movie. But they've like kind of gotten away with it, and then they're basically driving this like big bus down like an Italian mountain road, and like they swerve off, and then the bus is literally like teetering over the edge of the cliff, right? And they don't know what's gonna happen, and then Michael Caine goes, "Oh wait, I've got an idea," which is like one of his catchphrases of the movie, and the movie ends there. It's actually like it's a really genius way to end a movie like that.
That's good.
Great cliffhanger moment. But yeah, wait, I never actually asked you in kind. Do you feel which one's the bigger cop out.
I agree.
Time travel?
I think time travel is just as you said, it's more rooted in our culture. We've seen it for so long.
Yeah.
I was gonna say since Back to the Future, but even in sci-fi before then, in books.
Yeah, I mean, The Time Machine.
Exactly.
It was written in the 1800s. So, have you ever read this? I mean, you don't read, but have you ever...
That book is so big.
No, it's not.
It's not. I thought it was
No, The Time Machine's short.
Which one am I thinking of?
I don't know.
The one that's like
Dostoevsky? Like...
No, isn't it like 9 parts?
Crime and Punishment?
No, I think The Time Machine is like 9 parts.
I have literally read The Time Machine. It is very, very short.
There's one time traveling book franchise.
Are you thinking of like The Wheel of Time?
That's what I'm thinking of.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
That's the one that's like 13 parts.
Yeah, no. Like H.G. Wells' The Time Machine is actually very, very short.
Okay.
I read it as a kid.
Mm-hmm. I read a book. I read a book last weekend.
You read an actual book?
I read an actual book.
Wait, should we go ahead and move on to Bat Plugs? So you can talk about this book you read?
We can. Yeah.
Okay. All right, so Cameron, what book did you read?
I read Six of Crows. I think I started listening to it, and then I read the second half of it.
What's Six of Crows?
Six of Crows is a fantasy book about kind of like a middle, not even Middle Earth-esque, like an old-timey heist.
Okay.
So it's fantasy world-esque where you have kind of this fantasy map, and most people are normal humans, but you have this one race called the Grisha, or the Geisha, who have like light superpowers.
Okay.
And the world hates the Grisha because they're better than them at everything. And so half the world is trying to kill them and half the world is trying to enslave them.
Okay.
You find out that one Grisha has found a way to enhance other Grisha's powers. And then the main villains have captured him. And so this one crime boss kind of gathers an Ocean's 11-esque team.
Love it.
To break into the prison where they're keeping this one scientist Grisha, to break him out and kind of keep him for themselves.
Oh, that's cool.
But in the team, you have like their Grisha part of the team. There's one guy that's part of the villains. And so he's like, no, I can't betray my country. The Grisha girl would rather kill him than him be enslaved by these other people. So everyone kind of has their own motive to capturing this guy.
Okay.
And it was really good.
Is it a one-off? Is it a...
It's a duology, as I found out as I was finishing the last chapter.
Okay.
And got a little upset. Because the characters are great. I'm excited to read the second one, but I was also ready to like close the book, and that feeling of like, I did it.
Yeah. There is something very satisfying about one-off stories.
Yeah.
And it's kind of disappointing when you realize like, oh, it's just going to keep on going.
Yes. So I've just finished Six of Crows. It was great. Highly recommend it. It's a great world. And yeah, I will let you know about the sequel when I finish that one.
Okay. So you started the sequel?
No, not yet.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Are you someone who, if you come across a series and all of the books are out, will you read the entire series in one go, or you separate them out a little bit? I
have never been in this situation outside of Harry Potter.
Fair enough.
But I think
which you've
right
never
now,
read.
Yeah, exactly. What I think I'm going to do now is...
Do you own copies of the Harry Potter books?
I do.
How many copies do you own of the Harry Potter books?
A full set.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Including the 2 side stories.
Oh, okay.
The Bard of...
Beetle the Bard.
Yep. And
Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then Cursed Child.
Yes,
well.
of course. Yes.
But I just got the second book of the Earthsea stories.
Oh,
so
okay, that's right.
Between
Yeah.
the two.
Okay.
Because Earthsea is great.
Ooh, that's a bold choice, bouncing between two very dense, like fantasy sci-fi mythologies.
Well, Six of Crows is only 2, where
Yeah.
Earthsea is 9.
Yeah.
So I'll kind of just like give myself time between each Earthsea.
Okay.
Because I remember the world very well. It was a very well written world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'll plug that, and then I will plug. I'll plug Lock and Key.
Oh yeah, how is it?
Not great.
No.
I've been talking to one of my coworkers who loves the comic series, and she has been like pushing. She's also my supervisor now. She's been pushing me to read it, because she also watched the series and it got a huge, horrible YA treatment.
Interesting.
Yeah, where like I've heard about the craziness and creativity of the Lock and Key series, and I feel like that's super muddled down in this.
Oh.
Like you see 4 keys in 10 episodes. One of which I think the one that was the most interesting, which is the door to kind of like which is the door to like another realm. You see used once.
Oh.
And then they kind of close the door and they never open it again. I'm like, but that's the one I want. Like they meet the guy who builds the house.
Yeah.
And then never talk to him again. They don't ask him any questions about the keys, about the house, about the history.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's your exposition trap right there. It's like, just let him explain everything for you.
Yeah.
But nope. They meet him once and they never mention him again.
Oh, that's too bad. It looked interesting. I was hoping it was going to be good.
But yeah, it's one of those shows where, like, if you've watched everything else on your list, then sure, turn it on. But I don't think it's a necessity.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that's definitely not the point I'm going to reach because I never have enough time to get caught up on everything.
Yeah.
So.
What about you? What have you been plugging? What will you plug?
So I finished a book recently called The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle.
Okay.
By Stuart Turton, I want to say. It'll be in the show notes, the specific name. But it caught my eye a while ago, and I went and tracked it down and started reading it. And it's an interesting concept. It's basically that this character keeps waking up every day in the body of a house guest of this old, like, English Victorian manor. And it's the same day playing out, but he's in a different body each time. And he's trying to figure out who murders this other character named Evelyn Hardcastle. So it's got a bit of like a sci-fi element to it because there's like that kind of like quantum leap body jumping thing going on. And it's like he's figuring out who he is and what's going on. And there's these kind of players / overseers that are clearly shepherding the story to some degree. And so but it's also like a murder mystery, and it's really atmospheric. Like the author does such a fantastic job just like putting just like the dark, decrepit, oozing visual of the house in this world into every single sentence.
Okay.
Like it's really, really well written, really atmospheric, super interesting idea that they actually do a pretty good job with. And like each person he jumps into is different enough than the last that it feels like the story is constantly changing and constantly evolving, and he has kind of learned like, oh, well, this person is naturally kind of intelligent. I'm able to retain some of their intelligence. Whereas like maybe this person is like not as intelligent, but you know, is like really like brash. Like he'll ask things other people would be afraid to do because he doesn't have the same sort of social graces. And so it's this character like having to either cooperate with or fight against the natural instincts that people that he's now inhabiting. It's really, really good. I quite enjoyed it.
Nice. That sounds super interesting.
Yeah, no, it's a good read. Well worth checking out. And then once I finished that, I started reading the Grayson comics from Tom King.
Yeah.
Because they're all up on DC Universe.
That's the one where he's a secret agent?
He's a spy, yeah.
Where he's got all the super sexy covers?
Yes. Is that, yes, let's just say yes.
The answer is yes.
Yeah. But no,
any cover with Dick Grayson is a super sexy
the
cover.
comic covers, right.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so he's working for this organization called Spiral. That's actually one of his partner is Helena Bertinelli, which is kind of cool.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and one of the things I love about it is that it shamelessly exploits Dick Grayson for how sexy he is.
Exactly.
And like other characters around him do that too. Like there's this fantastic moment where as part of his cover, as part of his agency, he's become a gym teacher for all of the, like it's a boarding school for girls, right? And they like the girls just standing in the line like watching him do acrobatics, and they're talking about how like they've named each one of his butt cheeks and how one of them just needs to get way more attention than the other. And like, and you know, he's always wearing like super tight clothes and lots of like, you know, glamour butt shots. And there's like moments too where they have to like inspect him, and so he's just like standing there naked, like, is this absolutely necessary? And everyone goes, yes. Yes, it is.
That's good.
But it's fun, you know, it definitely plays on like kind of James Bond spy tropes a little bit here and there. If there's one thing that's not quite working for me, I'm not done with it yet, but I find that sometimes just plucking a run of a comic out of the rest of the history, you are obviously then bound by all these other things that are happening around it. So at the same time that the Grayson story happened, which was in like 2015, that's also the period where there's something called the Robin Wars happening in Gotham. It's also the same point where for some reason Bruce Wayne has amnesia, and this is the period where Jim Gordon is Batman in that like big like police style mech suit. So all that's kind of happening in the background. I kind of like vaguely know what's going on, but it's a little bit weird because they still have to tie this in. Also, this is the period where Superman has become depowered, and that's when he's running around just like the jeans and the t-shirt and like the buzz cut, and he's been outed, so everyone knows he's Clark Kent, but people don't think he's actually Superman. It gets a little bit weird having to incorporate all those things, and then it also starts to get like bogged down in mythology that goes a little bit too crazy for me at a certain point.
Okay.
Like the deeper they unravel like what Spiral is and what it's all about, it just starts to get really kind of weird and convoluted. I'm like not super loving. I kind of want it to be more just be like a romp, but obviously it has to have an arc to it.
Right.
But I mean, it is well written. I'm definitely enjoying it. I'm just enjoying it being Dick Grayson through the whole thing. And it makes me want to go read some of Tom King's other stuff because I've heard that his run on Vision is supposed to be amazing. His run on Mr. Miracle is supposed to be really incredible. I've heard mixed things about his run on Batman.
Okay.
But yeah, no, it's you know, it's worth a read. It's pretty good.
Nice.
So yeah,
I think we're gonna call it.
I think we're ready to call it, indeed. And if you have recommendations for things you've been reading or watching, or if you want to shoot us a note or a question in the vein of Cameron's, what is the greater sci-fi cop-out?
Yes.
You can find us at Timm Talk Pod on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Gmail.
Yes, you can.
You can find me at Lordifer on Twitter and Instagram.
You can find my art, which will hopefully soon be updated at some point, at Cameron.Dexter. And if you want to see my face, which is also soon to be updated, I guess.
What?
Online.
You
online.
having some work done?
Not my actual face.
You had some...
My profile page.
Are you finally getting those Botox injections you've been
am.
talking about for such a long time?
Yeah. I feel very droopy when I wake up.
I've warned you against it. My philosophy with plastic surgery is always subtract, don't add. But, you know, I can't stop you from doing what you want to do.
Yeah, well,
So-
it's my body. You can find that at CamDexter_Ventures.
It's your temple. You can add renovations to it if you want.
Exactly.
Fantastic. All right. Well, thanks everyone for listening. We'll be back to taking a week off. I don't think there's any bonus episodes coming up in the meantime. So see us again in 2 weeks for more Static Shock.
Yes.
Right?
That's right.
Is there anything else coming?
I mean, we're going to that movie.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Maybe. There might be another bonus episode.
We'll see.
You'll find out in a week. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Superhero Static Shock.
Whoop, whoop.